Madame de Pompadour, Louis XV's famous mistress brought to life, facial reconstructions and history. What if the face of one of history's most influential mistresses could speak? Thanks to modern facial reconstruction technology, we can now gaze into the eyes of Madame de Pompadour, revealing the woman behind the legend. Few figures in French history have captured the imagination quite like Jeanne-Antoinette Poisson, better known as Madame de Pompadour. As the official chief mistress of King Louis XV, she was more than just a royal lover. She was a patron of the arts, a political advisor, and a cultural icon whose influence shaped 18th century France. But who was this enigmatic woman beneath the powdered wigs and silk gowns? Recent advancements in forensic science and historical research allow us to peel back the layers of mystery and bring her story and her face to life. 1. The woman behind the legend. Born in 1721 to a modest family, Jeanne Antoinette rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most powerful women in Europe. Her ascent began when she caught the eye of King Louis XV at a masked ball in 1745. Charmed by her wit, intelligence, and beauty, the king made her his official mistress, granting her the title Marquise de Pompadour. But Madame de Pompadour was far more than a pretty face. She wielded immense influence over the court of Versailles, shaping politics, art, and culture during an era defined by extravagance and upheaval. Yet for all her fame, much about her personal life remains shrouded in myth. What did she truly look like, and how has history remembered her? 2. Facial reconstruction. Meeting Madame de Pompadour face to face. Modern technology has allowed historians and scientists to reconstruct Madame de Pompadour's likeness using portraits, death masks, and skeletal analysis. The results are nothing short of astonishing. How it works. Facial reconstruction combines forensic anthropology with artistic interpretation. By analyzing surviving images of Madame de Pompadour, researchers mapped her facial structure, accounting for age-related changes and stylistic exaggerations common in 18th century portraiture. Advanced software then layered muscle, skin, and texture onto the digital model, creating a lifelike representation of her features. What we see. The reconstructed face reveals a woman of striking elegance, but also quiet determination. Her high cheekbones, delicate nose, and expressive eyes reflect both her noble bearing and her sharp intellect. Unlike the idealized depictions in paintings commissioned by the court, this version of Madame de Pompadour feels human, almost as if she might step out of the past and greet us herself. 3. Her life and legacy. More than a mistress. To understand Madame de Pompadour is to appreciate her multifaceted role in French society. While many mistresses were dismissed as mere playthings of kings, she transcended these stereotypes, leaving an indelible mark on history. Patron of the arts, Madame de Pompadour was a fervent supporter of the Enlightenment and the arts. She championed painters like François Boucher, composers such as Jean-Philippe Rameau, and architects responsible for some of Versailles' most iconic designs. Under her guidance, the Rococo style flourished, characterized by its ornate elegance and whimsical charm. Political power broker. Though officially holding no governmental position, Madame de Pompadour played a key role in advising Louis XV on matters of state. She used her position to advocate for policies that aligned with her vision of a cultured, progressive France, even if it sometimes put her at odds with the nobility or clergy. Cultural icon. Her name became synonymous with refinement and sophistication. From hairstyles, the Pompadour, to porcelain manufacturing, Sèvres ceramics, her influence permeated every aspect of 18th century life. Even today, references to her legacy endure in fashion, design, and popular culture. 4. Challenges and controversies. Despite her accomplishments, Madame de Pompadour faced significant challenges. Court intrigue was relentless, and enemies often sought to undermine her influence. Rumors swirled about her financial dealings, her impact on the king's decisions, and even her health, which deteriorated in later years due to tuberculosis. Moreover, critics argue that her lavish spending contributed to the economic instability that eventually led to the French Revolution. While this perspective oversimplifies complex historical factors, it underscores the polarizing nature of her legacy. 5. Why does Madame de Pompadour still matter? Madame de Pompadour represents a fascinating intersection of power, gender, and ambition. In an age when women had limited agency, she carved out a space for herself at the highest levels of society, not through force, but through intelligence, charm, and strategic acumen. Her story invites us to reconsider traditional narratives about royal mistresses, challenging the notion that they were mere ornaments of the court. Instead, figures like Madame de Pompadour remind us that history is shaped not only by kings and generals, but also by those who operate behind the scenes. Conclusion: bringing history to life. Thanks to facial reconstruction technology, we can now meet Madame de Pompadour face to face, a rare opportunity to connect with a figure who has long been confined to the pages of history books. But beyond her physical appearance lies a deeper truth. Hers is a story of resilience, creativity, and enduring influence.